there.
She had big hoops. You know what they say?
The bigger the hoops, the bigger the whore.
Big hoe.
Oh, the bigger
Don't be
the hoops,
so
the
aggressive. The bigger the hoop, the bigger the hoe.
Alright, so friends, you may be, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see we're not in the usual place. The usual place is in my office, and Megan's not usually with me, and it's normally over Zoom. And we're clearly in a car. It's not a green screen. That's the behind us. That's like a real thing.
This is like an action film.
I really hope it's not, because you're going to have to do some stunt driving.
Yeah, I could do that.
You get nervous in driving on narrow lanes.
Yeah, I also get nervous when people drive like bellends, like this car behind me.
Yes. So we're using my lovely doohickey, which is the audio recorder, which I bought thanks to my lovely Patreon supporters. So shout out to all you guys.
Yeah, Margaret Green.
And we're recording obviously with a phone in basically a sat-nav phone holder thing. So framing isn't perfect, but it's pretty much the only way to get us both in the shot without Megan having to lean over while she's driving. So she's not going to give you guys any eye contact at all.
I will look at you. I will look at you with my eyes.
But at least if some sort of horrible accident happens, we've got it on camera.
Yeah,
so.
dash cam. And also, this is what an actual person driving looks like. Unlike in movies where they have like full-blown conversations like this and don't look at the road.
Well, also, people can't see your hands right now.
And also apologies because I will get distracted by cars. And also
dogs,
in 4 miles I have to come off the motorway, so...
Yes, and also we don't have any notes, which I normally do have notes and things. So I recapped the episode to Megan because...
Yeah, I got sleepy.
Anyone who knows Megan knows that she gets sleepy in most things. So yeah, we watched the episode of Mandalorian last night. It was, I should really know this, it's episode 6 of series 3, and I think it's chapter 22, and it's, I think, the first episode that isn't called The Something. It's called Guns for Hire, because normally, it's been The
Guns for Hire.
No, it's just called Guns for Hire.
The Guns for Hire.
No, that's incorrect.
The Guns for Hire.
So, yeah, audio is not going to be the highest quality because A, I'm not recording with my fancy microphone, and B, we're recording in a moving car, and we're on the motorway, so we're going like 60 miles per hour as well. So
it's currently 70.
Oh my god. Well, that sign up there says we need to start reducing speed, so it's going to be going down. But yes, we're in a fast moving car. We're going to Star Wars Celebration as well, which is all good fun.
Whoop, whoop.
And I'm obviously more excited about it than Megan is.
Whoop, whoop. But
Megan is quite excited as well because we've also got a photo op with Warwick Davis.
Yeah!
So that's all good. Our tortoise is named Wicket after... Well, Wicket is our tortoise's name, female version of Wicket.
Even though she is a boy.
Yeah, but we found out she's a boy like when she was 3 years old because you can't tell tortoises' gender usually for many years. But this is the kind of quality conversation you get when you subscribe to my Patreon at patreon.com/genuine chit-chat, where for only as little as £1 a month you get access to hours and hours of additional content, including afterthoughts with me and Megan, where you get at least 1 episode a week. And what I'm going to be doing is releasing the Star Wars Celebration coverage, because we're there for all 4 days. We're going to be seeing a variety of things, and we're going to talk about it in the hotel room afterwards. Probably when Megan's really tired and grouchy after spending 8 or 9 hours at a Star Wars convention.
It's going to be bloody killer.
And then having an hour commute back to the hotel.
And also me is going to be the one that's cooking when we get back.
Fortunately, we've got... you cooked lots of stuff beforehand.
There was loads of stuff in the freezer. I've put it in a cool bag. It's coming to London with us.
And we have a kitchen in the place we're staying.
In the evenings, food's already done.
Yeah. So we'll get into all that with the Star Wars Celebration coverage. I imagine what I'll be doing is recording on Friday and Saturday, and then releasing that late on Saturday instead of a normal episode of Comics in Canon.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably record another one on Sunday and release that on the feed of Genuine Chit-Chat. And then Monday, we'll see what we end up seeing. Because I'm primarily going to be getting stuff signed on Monday, so might not even have that much to say. But yeah, you'll hear clicker sounds occasionally where Megan changes lane.
Because I know how to use an indicator.
That is true. And other stuff, speed will increase and reduce. The
noise is going to get nicer now because I can see traffic.
Yeah, so we're going to be more annoyed, but the quality of the sound is going to be better. But obviously the phone is going to vibrate a little bit because it did earlier when the road's a bit more bumpy, so please bear with us. Please be thankful that we're doing this at all, really.
Also, apologies for this horrible angle.
Yeah, the angle is not the best, not even for me. It's like, you can see the horribleness of me. But, there we go. Yeah, and Megan's fun little noises when she brakes her car.
No, as in when I brake.
When you are braking. You're
car.
braking the car, as opposed to smashing it and breaking it. But, Mandalorian. So what I've been doing in this is asking people, like, obviously you have, unwillingly so, watched all of the live-action Star Wars stuff, as well as pretty much all the animated stuff as well. I haven't shown you Resistance, but no one really needs to watch that. So with the live-action Star Wars shows, is Mandalorian still your favourite out of Kenobi, Boba Fett, and Andor?
Oh, it definitely wasn't Boba Fett, because the best thing about Boba Fett were the Mandalorian episodes.
Why is it now that we've stopped you suddenly talking really quiet? Now that there's no background noise, I don't need to talk at a normal volume. Is it no? Now that I like Boba Fett.
Yeah, I think so. I liked Andor, but I still prefer Mandalorian because I need Grogu in my life.
Yeah, well, it's also like Andor, although it's a better made show, is less fun.
It's more serious.
Yeah, it's definitely more of like a
there
mature
were bits of it
thing.
that I really enjoyed, like the prison thing. And,
and the heist stuff as well.
The heist stuff, and then there was like devastating bits in it that I did like.
The deaths in it and certain scenes really hit hard. Whereas
Can I say spoilers?
I would have hoped everyone would have seen Andor by now who's watching this. So
Costa, if you're watching.
Well, yeah, it would be lovely if the Comics Emotion got sponsored by Costa. That'd be nice. That's just our normal go-to drink when we're travelling, and I've got one as well.
Costa the size of my head.
Yeah, as much coffee as possible. And then Megan told me I'm not allowed to stop to go to the toilet, and I've got like
Mike's bladder is pathetic though. Like it is just ridiculous. But
that's true.
We've only got just under 2 hours left. You can wait.
If I finish my Costa enough, I can just wee back in the Costa. And then swap them over, hopefully, not tell you, and then you'll...
Oh, gosh, what's going on here?
HGVs.
What was your question?
Is Mando's your favourite live-action show, isn't it?
Mando's my favourite, yeah. Oh, yeah, spoilers. Yeah, there were... I won't say spoilers, but there were a couple of bits in Andor that I really, really, really did enjoy.
Yeah. Everything with Nemec is amazing.
Yeah, and the stuff with... Is it Andy Serkis?
Yeah. Kino Loy is
I liked that stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, Mandalorian is still...
Andy Serkis is going to be at Star Wars Celebration, that's fun.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a cuddle.
I can show my Gollum impression, but it's like 150 odd quid to get a photo with him.
Yeah, we got Warwick Davis.
Yeah, we have. But yeah, so you've been enjoying. What do you think of Kenobi? Because Kenobi's quite mixed.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I feel like it would have done better had it have come out like a movie like it was supposed to.
Yeah, I feel the same.
I just feel it was a bit pithy. There were some episodes that were really good, but it just got dragged out unnecessarily. It didn't need to.
Yeah.
It was kind of just getting money for the sake of it, personally, for parts of it, because it's like we know that people are going to watch it because it's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I did enjoy it. I just thought it could have been better, and I think it would have been better if it was a movie instead of a series.
Yeah, I think all the Vader stuff would have hit harder if it wasn't like broken up. Like I feel like Kenobi would really benefit from like a binge watch in like one day. But you know, I enjoyed Kenobi, but I don't really want to, because it's about 3.5 hours long, or nearly 4 hours.
Yeah,
and it's like that's basically an entire. I mean, realistically, you couldn't even watch that in an evening with eating and chores and a dog and stuff.
I mean, we could if we had nothing else going on.
Yeah, but it's like, realistically, you would have to watch it on a weekend. It's like, do I really want to sacrifice a large chunk of my weekend to watch all of Kenobi when there's bits of it that aren't as strong? For me, Andor is the best show, but I enjoy Mandalorian as much as I enjoy Andor. They're just two slightly different shows. Like, Andor is like a brilliantly made show in the Star Wars universe, whereas Mandalorian is a brilliant Star Wars show. If you're not that into Star Wars, you're not really going to enjoy Mando that much. But this episode...
I don't necessarily think that's true.
I think there are people who can, but like... There are friends of ours who tried watching Mandalorian and they just weren't impressed by the first episode, and it's like, it depends on what you kind of want from it. If you want like top tier television that like that like combat that could like go against things like The Expanse and Chernobyl and Breaking Bad and Succession and all these like high quality, almost HBO style shows, Mandalorian does not compare to that, but Andor does. But Mandalorian has a lot of heart and there's a lot of fun. And it's a lot more accessible.
Well, yeah, it's got a cute factor. A lot of people were invested because it's got Grogu.
Yeah. So delving into Series 3 as a whole, have you been enjoying Series 3?
Yeah.
How do you think it compares to the other two series? I
don't really remember. I'm not going to lie.
Well, I feel like Series 1 is the weakest. Series 1's obviously where you get introduced to them, and there's the IG-11 stuff, and then the ending is that big fight with them and Moff Gideon in that bunker thing.
Yeah, and then the end of the second series is when Luke Skywalker turns up.
Yeah, well, Series 2's got Ahsoka in it, Luke in it, and it's got the frog lady.
I don't... the frog lady?
Yeah,
the one with her eggs in the
when he's eating the eggs. And there was actually a frog person in this episode as well, funnily enough.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I thought I wasn't a big fan of the episode where
Was it the cave with all the spiders?
No, the one with the people that were trying to be redeemed or something. This is why. Sorry.
We did warn. We're driving, and Megan.
First of all, I can see stealth in the background, so we're driving near Thorpe Park, which is a theme park in the UK.
Banging theme park.
Secondly, I'm getting distracted because there's loads of traffic on this road, and the reason that there's loads of traffic on this road is because there's dickheads that are in the lane that I need to be in, and then they're merging into the lane that has all the traffic so that they can get into the queue faster rather than just waiting. So
yes, fun of British roads, and anywhere really, because there's bad drivers everywhere.
Now the road that I'm going on is national speed limit, so 70 miles an hour, and the road that everyone else is trying to get on is 40. So now I can drive fast.
Yes.
But yeah.
You were saying about people. You didn't like the things where people were getting redeemed and stuff.
Yeah, the episode where it goes into the other one.
In series 3, yeah, where it was Dr. Pershing and Elia Khan.
I'm enjoying this series a lot. That was my least favourite episode, I think, which is really weird because someone at work who watches Star Wars, he was like, I really liked that episode because it was different, and I was like, yeah,
Some people have said that.
I don't like it.
I enjoyed the episode because it's quite hard for me to not enjoy almost any Star Wars content. Resistance really pushed me.
I didn't dislike it. It was just the weakest one for me.
Yeah, I do agree. I think it is the weakest, but I really am intrigued by. Like, it really adds to the lore quite nicely. And I think in last week's episode where they had the Republic bureaucracy, you know, it had the principal from Mean Girls in it. And Carson Teva. And when, obviously, Zeb was in the last episode as well.
Yeah, that was cool.
And it was like, oh, I need a Republic squad to go and help me with this pirate problem. And he was like, I don't really think we can do that. Like, that kind of thing. Like, the kind of New Republic bureaucracy and complacency with it all. I think that episode really added to that, and I think the character of Elia Kane is, or Elia Kane, or Elia Kane.
The one with the short hair.
Yeah. Well, she was actually, she's in Ant-Man 3, which obviously you haven't seen yet, but she appears in that. And I was like, oh, it's her. She's in quite a lot of stuff, and she seems to be popping up in a lot of things. She is a good actress, so kudos to her being in these kind of things. But she is definitely a very interesting character. But obviously she's not really in this one very much. This is all quite Mandalorian-centric. So it started off with the...
No, I mean, I think I like this series more because it is more Mandalorian-centric. Because, like, when the first series came out, it was like The Mandalorian. It made it seem like there were no other Mandalorian. So it's nice to see that The Mandalorian are kind of coming out now, and it's actually more focused on them. And obviously, in this episode that we just watched, there was the comment that they would be able to become, like, a liaised... like essentially a sister planet, wasn't it? That's the premise that they were saying. That's how they were getting them on board. To be recognised as a planet by the Republic. As
like a true system. Because, you know, you've got the system of this and the system of that. It's like groups of planets that all kind of agree to vaguely be under the law of something. It's kind of like that in loose terms, as far as I understand. But yeah, obviously, because where I showed you Clone Wars and Rebels, there's so much Mandalorian history in both of those shows.
Yeah.
And so it's quite a weird one where, like, I'd probably say about a third of, maybe a quarter or a third of the people who watch Mandalorian either have seen Clone Wars and or Rebels, or at least have a pretty good idea on Mandalorian culture.
Yeah, I have an issue
half
though.
to 2/3 have like no idea, so it's quite a weird tightrope.
Well, this is the thing. Like, I remember when we watched Mandalorian season 2, and my brother was watching it, and it was on Boxing Day that we were having a conversation about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm watching the Mandalorian. I've just got to the episode with like." Or it might have been the Boba Fett series, I can't remember.
It was Mando series 2.
It was Mando.
It was the Ahsoka one.
Yeah, and he was like, I've just got to the bit with that Jedi. He was like, Ahsoka, and I was like, it's so weird to me that you don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Because obviously, we've consumed more content than other people.
Whereas where we're going now to Star Wars Celebration, you won't find a single person who doesn't know who Ahsoka is.
No, I mean, I've literally got Ahsoka on... I was going to be like, here it is.
To unplug,
take my keys out of my ignition.
Yeah.
I've got a little Lego Ahsoka from when we went to Disneyland Paris in October.
And that Lego Ahsoka is Ahsoka from Rebels as well, where her Leku is longer and things.
Yeah.
And she's older. Which is the most badass Ahsoka. I mean, to be fair, Rosario Dawson's Ahsoka in Mandalorian Series 2 was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, let's get ready for 52 minutes of traffic now.
Oh, yeah. Well, that means the audio is going to be slightly better then, so that's good fun. But yeah, I like them delving more into Mandalorian culture. I think it's very interesting, and I assume they are going to be doing... There's going to be an episode either the next episode, or maybe the finale, or maybe they won't do it till like series 4, or maybe they'll do a Bo-Katan series where they'll show what actually happened to Mandalore, like to Mandalore, because we
know that it was like bombed, wasn't it? It's been destroyed.
Well, we know there was a purge
because they think it's cursed.
Yeah, so we know that the Empire bombed it, but I don't want to spoil anything in Star Wars Rebels because a lot of people who listen to this show haven't seen Star Wars Rebels, which upsets me dearly as I always talk about Rebels.
You should watch it, it's a great show.
It is. Even Megan says it's a great show. Would you say Rebels is the best Star Wars show, or do you think Mandalorian for you is better? Because I think Rebels is better, but...
It's difficult because...
Obviously animation versus live action is hard, and Rebels is loosely aimed at a younger audience, but then...
Where's that siren coming from?
I do not know.
It is coming from behind me.
Yeah, change lane to the
I
left.
can't change lanes. There's
Accelerate.
There's a HGV behind me.
Accelerate and go over there. I'm behind this vehicle. I can't go in that lane.
I couldn't. There was a fucking HGV.
I'm aware.
Look, you can bloody see it in the camera.
That
it's
is true.
there.
People can see it. Now, because you've referenced it, and I can see the cars like driving behind people, and people are like, sure, I thought that the police, they should be driving up a hard shoulder. That's what I kind of thought part of the hard shoulder was forward.
Well, it's an what is it?
Unmarked.
Unmarked police car.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, that's a fun thing. I don't know if I'm even going to edit this out. I probably won't, because what I'm hoping to be able to do is just like put this together and release it, because editing it takes quite a lot of time, and when it comes to Mandalorian episodes, I try and keep them quite fluid.
Well, no, we don't faff around with that because it's going to be so busy over the next couple of days, and also this evening. So
it's going to be pretty raw.
So you'll just experience that.
Yeah, stuff that normally would get cut out, but this is the premium. That's
what happens when you get Megan on the show.
Yeah, distracted by. I mean, to be fair, I would have done the same thing, and also we heard the sirens, so it's pretty.
I clocked it pretty quickly.
You did.
Anyway, what were we saying?
So Rebels or Mandalorian? No spoilers.
It's difficult because
Rebels is finished. Whereas
Rebels has finished, and you get really invested in the characters, and there's like I don't know. It's difficult to say.
There's
really.
a certain episode which has the strongest emotional beat of any Star Wars I've ever seen in my life, and then there's the finale of Series 2 is some of the best Star Wars I've ever seen in my life. So you've got two. The other thing I've mentioned, I'm not going to say where that emotional beat happens because it will spoil it, but there's a really major emotional episode at some point in Rebels. I have started Rebels Reviewed, so people check out Series 1 of Rebels when Mando's all finished, and you've got time before Ahsoka starts later in the year. Watch Star Wars Rebels, and then you can also listen along with Rebels Reviewed with myself, Math, and Dave, and Megan might even make an appearance at some point. So
yeah, maybe
if she feels like it on the day. That's basically normally how it is. I
honestly don't know the answer to that question. Like, if I think maybe Rebels solely because the episodes are shorter.
That's a good point.
Like, it's just easier to digest.
And you're watching.
Takes more time.
Well, when we were watching, because we've started watching Series 2 of Rebels again, and you caught. I was like, do you want to start watching this with me? Because obviously if you're going to do Rebels Reviewed, depending on what you're going to do, you're going to have to really watch the whole season. And you were like, yeah, we'll watch a few. And then you watched the one when you were quite tired, and you were like, I'll watch this one and go to bed.
We watched like 3 in a row.
Well, you were like gunning for it. You're like, I'm happy to watch another. I was like, really? You're like, you want to watch like an hour of Rebels? And I was like, I put Rebels on because I thought you were getting tired, and I just wanted to watch something as you're falling asleep, but you're getting well into it, and you're like, I forgot how much I enjoyed Rebels.
I did forget. I did forget.
I did forgot.
Shut up. I did forget how much I enjoyed Rebels.
Yeah. It's a bloody good show. Bloody good show.
It's a bloody good show.
Bloody good show. I think Rebels is still the best, probably some of the best Star Wars content that exists. I think it probably is on par with the original trilogy for me. But this isn't a Rebels podcast, even though I always try and turn them into one, because I love Rebels, if people didn't already know. But I hope I can get some Rebels merch at Star Wars Celebration. I'm going to try to find some of that.
Oh no, that runs 8 minutes slower.
We'll be fine. Megan's looking at the sat nav. But yeah, I mean, I like a Mandalorian culture. The reason I mention it is because we do see, and this is ever so slight mild spoilers for Rebels, but again, I'm not going to say specifically, but where there's a point where you get a lot of information about Mandalorians in Rebels, and then something is about to happen, and then Rebels finishes. And then we heard nothing about it. There's no comics, no books, no nothing. And then Mandalorian starts.
There's also a fair amount referenced in the Clone Wars.
Yeah. The Clone Wars gives you a lot, because Clone Wars gives about Bo-Katan and her sister. Satine.
Yeah, Satine.
Cries.
Why would they make a character from Mandalore called Satine and then make another character from Mandalore called Sabine?
Oh my god, I said this exact thing.
Why they would choose to do that is beyond me. Why would they essentially give two people from Mandalore the same name?
It was like in Game of Thrones
Satine
where they have
Sabine.
Brun and Bran, and you're like, for God's sake,
It's
George.
Bron, not Brun.
Bron and Bran. It's like, for God's sake, George R. R. Martin. Literally just call one of them Gron. Seriously, it makes it so much easier. But anyway, yeah, Clone Wars has a lot of Mandalorian culture and what they are at the state of the galaxy before the Empire takes over, and then Rebels shows what it's like after the Empire takes over, and then there's an event that's going to happen, and then Rebels ends, and then we're here in the Mandalorian series, and it's like, oh yeah, whatever happened, it went really bad, and that's all we kind of know. But there's still a lot of gaps that are missing of like what actually happened, like what happened to Mandalore. Did it happen around the time of the original trilogy?
Well, I'm assuming
did it
it will
happen
go
post-original trilogy, like after Episode 6, when the Empire were kind of scrambling a lot for like a year and a half after the Empire, after the Emperor and Vader died?
Well, I'm assuming it will go into more detail because obviously the group that is it Wolves? What was his name?
Yeah, Axe Wolves. Yeah,
that's the group that Bo-Katan used to lead.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, because one of the ones in there was with her in Series 2 of Mandalorian.
I now that she's the leader of them,
yeah,
I imagine it will go into a bit more detail about the Mandalorians.
Yeah, there were rumours about a Bo-Katan series, and I don't want there to be a Bo-Katan series.
I don't want it to just be a spin-off after a spin-off after a spin-off, because I mean, I've said this so many times, I already feel like there is too much content.
Yeah, both for Marvel and Star Wars.
For Marvel and Star Wars, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
So it would just be too much if there's another spin-off.
I think Marvel was worse.
I think also they'd be pretty pushed to try and get people to watch a spin-off of Bo-Katan.
Yeah, I just think they should just do what they're doing now, which is the Mandalorian have 1 or 2 episodes that are central around Bo-Katan. Like, it's called...
Why is my seatbelt so twisted?
I thought your seatbelt was come off then. That was well surprising. But it's like, the show's called The Mandalorian, and although Din Djarin is known as The Mandalorian, especially to people who've never seen Clone Wars or Rebels, with Bo-Katan, like, Bo-Katan is actually more of a sort of infamous Mandalorian in certain ways.
Her sister was the leader of Mandalore.
Yeah, she was the Duchess of Mandalore. Like, her sister literally ruled Mandalore for quite a while.
Well, in a very pacifist way.
That is true. And a little known fact is in Clone Wars, Bo-Katan was the leader of a terrorist group who actually went against her own sister, and I think they bombed the city and stuff, or they were going to. But Bo-Katan wasn't the leader of the terrorist group. She was like second in command to...
What are they called?
Death Watch. That's why the group that Din is in is called the Children of the Watch, because they're like a splinter group from Death Watch. Right. Which is probably why Bo-Katan doesn't really like them very much, because she's like, you started this terrorist organisation.
I should have come off that.
Quite badly, and then, it went quite badly, and now I'm trying to somewhat redeem myself. I don't really want to be associated with these kind of cultists in a way. These peeps. But yeah, the start of the episode actually was like the Quarren and the Mon Calamari. And the prosthetics on the people's faces is absolutely
it was really cool. I really liked the fact that it's not like CGI and it's actual like stuff.
It looks so real as well.
It's cool. I liked it.
It's not. It didn't look like someone wearing an alien suit. It literally looked like an alien. It was like the Nikto that we saw in episode 2 or 3, I think it was. The one where they were in Navarro and Din and Grief Karga like shot them, and it was the alien face, and you're like, oh my god, the prosthetics on that were phenomenal. Like, that's how I just think they're so good, and they're timeless. If you make an alien look real with prosthetics, it never really ages. Or I say never. You watch some of the stuff from the 30s, and that's pretty hard push, but that's slightly different. You've got space.
Yeah, I'm going to try and come off.
Yeah.
Because it's saying... Sorry.
It's
everyone. Saying similar ETA.
I'm checking that. They're there.
So if I could come off, that would be great.
Do a hard turn, I'd say. Like, push in so that you can't... Because if you're already established somewhat, then you won't really be able to. But yeah, I really like the start. I think it was interesting, having the Mandalorians kind of hired as mercenaries, and then it's still got this Mon Calamari Quarren thing, which a lot of people don't watch the animated stuff and go, what's this all about? Whereas anyone who's seen Clone Wars especially is like, or read the comics and things, knows that the Mon Calamari people and the Quarren have been warring basically forever. In fact, in the High Republic is even referenced they're still warring then, and that's like in Phase 2 of the High Republic, which is about 350 years before the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
So it's like, Sorry, Megan's going to change lanes, so she won't be speaking for a moment. So it's one of those things where the Mon Cala War, because Mon Cala is a planet, and both the Mon Calamari and the Quarren live there, so they've always been warring factions because they're two different species. And in the Clone Wars, Series 4, which is when Clone Wars steps up a notch, Series 4, and the animation's better and all that sort of other stuff. Yeah, it's in there. It says that the... In Series 4 of the Clone Wars, the first 3 or 4 episodes is this whole war episode, all about the Mon Calamari and the Quarren. And in the comics it goes into that, and it's just, they're always at war, basically. And I like how, even now, there's still a lot of hostilities between the two species on this planet, and it's like, it never really goes away. So I liked that element of it, and I like it does illustrate that these Mandalorians have kind of become mercenaries, because I know that, I think in Legends continuity, back like thousands of years prior to the Skywalker saga and stuff, there was like this big war between the Mandalorians and the Jedi, and the Mandalorians lost. And when that happened, all of the Mandalorians got like splintered out, and there was this thing called the Mask of Mandalore, which was basically like the Darksaber, where anyone who had this mask basically ruled Mandalore and stuff.
Yeah.
And that a Jedi defeated the Mandalorians and then hid the mask, and then all the Mandalorians were just splintered and they couldn't like group together and fight again. So they all just kind of became mercenaries. And I like how in this it's showing that when Mandalorians aren't being Mandalorian in essence, they just kind of default to being mercenaries. Like, I think that's quite an interesting element to things as well. So I like the start of that. And then, you know, the bulk of this episode was about Bo-Katan, Grogu, and also Bo-Katan and Din Djarin. They go to that planet, Plaisir 15 or Plaisir 15.
Oh, I think it was Plaisir.
I think it's Plaisir, because I remember Jack Black overly...
Plaisir. It was cool seeing Jack Black.
Jack Black is, like... Not only is he a legend outside of acting and stuff like that, and he does Tenacious D, which... The last album or two has been pretty crap, but the first 2 albums are golden, and The Pick of Destiny is a banging movie. But, like, I love Jack Black. When I saw it, I was like, oh, cool, Jack Black, that's amazing.
And we saw Lizzo.
And
then we weren't 100% sure if it was Lizzo.
I was like, I'm pretty certain that's Lizzo, but like neither me or Megan really listened to Lizzo's music that much.
I actually really hated Lizzo when she first came onto the scene, and I have warmed to her quite a lot now. I like her music a bit more than I did.
Yeah, but she does have a couple of annoying tracks, and especially when there's a song you don't like that much and it goes like viral or whatever, and you hear it everywhere, it's just ugh.
They made us do a dance to it at work, didn't they?
Well, not, I didn't do the dance, but I remember you telling me and showing me.
They made us do a dance to to pump me up as a Levers thing for the year 11s.
Yeah, so Megan knows Lizzo well, not personally, but we were both like, I was like, pretty certain that's Lizzo. And what did you think of Lizzo's acting?
Yeah, I thought it was fine.
See, before watching the episode, I saw a lot of people complaining. They didn't mention Lizzo. They were just like, oh, the acting in this episode wasn't good. And there was
agree with that.
There was one moment where I felt like it took me out of it for a moment, but I didn't think she was a bad actor.
No.
I think the problem that people have is that it's kind of like the She-Hulk thing, like when Megan Thee Stallion showed up in She-Hulk, even though it doesn't really make any difference. People just want to be outraged.
My issue with that, though, is that it didn't really add anything to the plot. Like, granted, yes, this person could have literally been anyone and it wouldn't have made a difference. But I didn't think she was bad. Like, the Megan Thee Stallion thing was just them twerking. It was...
Well, she was a client.
Yeah, it was a bit silly, so I can understand that, but
yeah.
I don't know why there would be any hate towards Lizzo, aside from the fact that she's female.
Yeah, and also person of colour.
And, yeah.
So it's one... I mean, there are some people who are not racist or sexist or anything like that, who have an issue with Lizzo because they don't think she's a great actor, which is fine. You know, I don't...
That's fine, but I don't think it was bad by any stretch.
I don't think it was like prequels bad. Do you know what I mean?
Right, okay.
Like, I love
if you think to the prequels, episode 2, everyone's fucking shit in that. Everyone's crap in episode 2. The acting is not great, and I know that it's partly down to the fact that I stand by this fact. I love Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor is a fantastic actor, but in episode 2, he's not. And that's because of the dialogue. A lot of it is the script.
Yeah.
But...
And the direction from...
Yeah. But my point here is that, like...
It's not as bad as that.
It's not as bad as that.
So it's not really that bad. Like, her dialogue was fine.
There was a whole fucking thing with Hayden Christensen peeling the goddamn pear.
Yeah, well, floating it over, cutting a slice out of it, and then floating it back.
Don't play with your food, Anakin.
Anakin, quit panicking. And I was like, oh, cool, Lizzo. I think the problem is that some people have with it is that when they see someone who's that famous who is not an actor, like you see Jack Black, you go, oh shit, Jack Black's in this, but he's an actor, so famous actors are going to be in Star Wars and movies.
Yeah, but a lot of people who make it into the music industry, generally, it's the trifecta, isn't it? If you can sing, act and dance, then you're good to go.
Yeah. But like with Lizzo, because to my understanding, I might be wrong here, but I think that might be the only time she's actually acted. I don't know that, but I've not seen her. She's at least not been a lead in anything.
I don't think it makes a difference either way.
Not to me personally, but I just think when people see someone who is not, in air quotes, in their view, an actor, being in a piece of content they love, and obviously with Star Wars, it's all about being immersed. It's all about being in this world.
I also feel like people just want to kick up a fuss for the sake of kicking up a fuss.
That is true.
If you're going to make that comment, the fact that Jack Black's in it is even more fucking distracting, because he's a huge goddamn actor. Like, it doesn't make a difference as to whether someone's a new actor or not. Like, just get a grip.
Yeah, I'm one of those people. I'm like, yeah, I didn't think Liz's acting was fantastic, but I didn't think it was bad. I was like, it was fine. But I still think, like, her whole role in it and her love of Grogu and that sort of stuff, you know, it was a kind of like a nudge, wink kind of thing. And I feel like it almost felt like Lizzo just said, I love Grogu, I wish I could grab Grogu. And then someone at Star Wars went, do you want to do that on film? And then she was like, yeah, sure. And then that kind of happened. I might be being cynical, and it might be something much more. Maybe Lizzo's a massive Star Wars fan, been gunning for something forever, and finally got her chance to be in it. Maybe. But it's probably to do with like Grogu stuff.
I don't really think it makes a difference. If people were picking at stuff like that,
which people do,
they need something more fulfilling in their life. If I'm being completely honest. Sorry, guys.
Brutality.
Like, if she was horrendously bad, then I would be like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Like, she was shit, but she wasn't anything bad. She was alright. She was alright, yeah.
But Jack Black was amazing.
Jack Black was amazing, and Jack Black's just amazing at everything. But like, if you're going to be nitpicking about, am I in the wrong lane? Yes. If you're going to be nitpicking about the fact that Lizzo was in it, it's just like, do you not have better things to do with your life than just get shitty with people on social media because it isn't what you wanted?
Yeah, and obviously there is a difference between fair critiques.
Lots of people were in the wrong lane.
Yeah, I just noticed. It's fair. If people have fair critiques and they honestly think Lizzo was not great at acting and it took them out of it a little bit, that's fine. But I think that the thing that Megan's kind of pointing towards is there's a difference.
Also driving, so sorry if I'm being harsher than intended.
but it is also like, you know, with Star Wars, I am very openly critical of Star Wars in a lot of these conversations when it's apt. But I feel like also one has to be like, well, if Lizzo didn't do the best job acting,
it's fine because she's not an important character.
Well, that's a part of it, and she's probably not going to show up again unless for like a little...
Unless we happen to go to Plaisir, whatever it's called again.
15. But also the thing is, it's like, being critical of stuff is fine, but you have to also think like, was Lizzo not ideal because Lizzo is just not a good actor and she can't be helped? Or was it because they didn't really, like a director didn't really push her enough? I mean, it was Bryce Dallas Howard who directed this episode, and she's directed pretty much all the best.
That's the one from Jurassic World.
Yeah.
The ginger one.
Yeah, well, she's the daughter of Ron Howard.
Yeah, my other thing, right, is that people aren't just going to hire people for the sake of it. Like, if they think that they're shit, they're not going to give Lizzo I don't want to just use Lizzo as the example, but like, they're not going to give someone a part that has a shit ton of speaking in it if they're crap at acting. What they're going to do is put them in a cantina in the background. Yep. Like, if the director and the people who are on the show that are hiring and like doing all of the casting and stuff, they're not going to deliberately pick someone that is crap for a role that has lots of dialogue.
Yeah. So
obviously, I imagine Lizzo probably had to audition.
Oh yeah.
So like, she can't be that bad. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, which is fair. But it's like, was it the director, which was Bryce Dallas Howard? You know, what was the reason people have? But being critical of the show is fine, as long as people aren't like being on the hate train.
Well, yeah, it's like people shitting all over She-Hulk because it's a woman.
Yeah.
Like, people were giving it bad reviews before it even come out because the lead is a woman. It's just like, I just feel like a lot of people have a lot of things to say, and that's fine. People are entitled to their own opinion, and people are entitled to say what they want. Like, I'm not going to censor anyone, and I don't have that power anyway, but like, come on.
It's for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, if you're going to slate something because you actively don't enjoy it for whatever reason, because of an actual genuine reason, but if you're just like, I don't like it because this actor isn't an actor, it's like, okay, well, no one's an actor until they've tried it.
I was going to say, no one's an actor until they are one. You know, I mean, The Rock, for example, he's beloved, and like, he wasn't always an actor. Jack Black.
Well, and also The Rock has been in films where he is not good at acting.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, also he plays on the same character and everything. There's quite a funny picture of The Rock, which
am
is...
I in the wrong lane?
You've asked that so many times.
Yeah, I'm really sorry, but I don't like roundabouts.
I don't think you are. But
I think I am.
But you're in this lane, you can go out that way.
I am in the wrong lane.
Yeah, you can.
I can't, like...
You can.
I promise I'm not a bad driver, everyone. That guy just sneaked in front of me. Did you see that?
He was in the wrong lane.
Oh, my lordy.
He was in the wrong lane, and he cut across us as well. We are driving, you know, because we're driving a Star Wars celebration.
We're driving somewhere that I've never been before, and we have also gone a direction that I've literally never been before, and I hate roundabouts.
Yeah.
And that was quite a big one.
Well, it's also because we're going to a Star Wars celebration. Normally you just go on the motorway for ages, but the motorway's really...
I'm glad we came off at the motorway.
Yeah, that was a good
Because
shout.
we would have been stuck in standstill traffic there, and we've actually lost 6 minutes.
Nice. And Megan's like least favourite thing in the world when it comes to driving is being stuck in traffic.
I hate it.
Like, you'd rather drive for like half an hour.
I would rather
be
drive
stuck
an
in
extra
traffic.
45 minutes than be sat in standstill traffic, yes. As long as I'm moving, I'm a lot happier.
Yeah. But back to the episode. So there was also the other cameo in this was Christopher Lloyd, aka Doc Brown from the Back to the Future.
Oh, the old guy.
Yeah. And he was one that I found he was kind of underused. I have a suspicion that he's going to come back in a more major role because, you know, having Lizzo and Jack Black and stuff, you know, Jack Black's a great actor or whatever, but he'll do almost anything for fun. So, like, him being in it, he doesn't need to be a major character, but he did look great, and I loved him being in it.
He was cool.
He's very charismatic. You know, Lizzo being in it, she was fine. You know, once again, not the major character and stuff, but, like, Christopher Lloyd is sci-fi royalty. You know, the Back to the Future trilogy is considered one of the best trilogy films ever, and Back to the Future is considered one of the best, if not the best sci-fi film ever.
I've only seen the first one, haven't I?
Yeah, I don't think I've seen because the first one they go back in time, the second one they go forward in time, and then the third one they go back again, I think. It's like Western, it's like all cowboys and stuff.
Right.
I've seen them all at some point, but I barely remember them.
Okay.
But, I mean, Christopher Lloyd's been in lots of other things, but that's his most famous role. And when he got the role, annoyingly, I saw everyone online, when he got cast, everyone was going on about it. Oh my god, who's he going to be? Is he going to be this guy? I think people are going to hate me for this, but it's like Jaborath or something. It's a character from the Heir to the Empire trilogy, which is where Thrawn was originally from.
Right. So that's Legends.
Yeah. So the original sort of novel sequel trilogy is Heir to the Empire, Thrawn, that's where he comes from, and Mara Jade and this sort of stuff. And it's Luke Skywalker and the people from Star Wars. I think it's 5 or 10 years after Return of the Jedi, and Thrawn's the big bad. So it's like people were thinking, and there's a character in there, again, I can't remember his name, it's a weird one, but he's like this crazy old wizard, and you look at the artist's depiction of him, and he doesn't look too far removed from Christopher Lloyd.
Right.
So a lot of people were like, oh my god, are they going to put C. Baroff, or whatever he's called? Is that going to be it? He's a really weird offshoot character. Are they going to bring him into canon and stuff? And no is the answer to that question, unless this is, again, this character's going off into exile, it seems, and I think this character from Legends was in exile. People are screaming at me this character's name, and I am really sorry. But is he actually going to become this character? Who kind of knows? But it was, seeing him in it, I felt like he was underutilized. I feel like
he wasn't really in it for that much, to be honest. I don't really remember him.
Well, he was just the leader of the security. He'd been there for decades and decades, because he's been there since like the Clone War times. And then he was the one who, you know, implanted the nanobots in the Nepenthe. And it's like, okay.
Does he say for what purpose he did that?
It's quite a crap excuse. He was just kind of like, I can just do what I want. I don't want the New Republic coming in here. And
he says Count Dooku was a visionary. I remember him saying that.
Well, he was kind of always a separatist, and he doesn't like being called that, but he was a separatist, and then he was a like anti-Empire, and now he's like anti-New Republic, and I was like, I don't really get your motivation. It seems like I thought what it was going to be, and what I'm hoping they do is he was paid to do it by the First Order or something, like, or what becomes the First Order, because that's what I want this show to kind of do, is to show how the First Order kind of rose from the ashes in a way. That's what I'd really like to see. And I think that I was like, oh, cool, there's all this stuff. Like, what are the First Order doing? And there's like, oh, there's just this random bloke who's got a grievance with something, and he likes Count Dooku. And you're like, so what is he doing? What's happening? Why is he making all these droids? Because also I'm like, surely the worst way to stay away from the New Republic and stuff is to draw loads of attention to yourselves. And if you're going to set loads of battle droids off, killing loads of people and going mental, that's going to attract a lot of attention.
To be fair, though, isn't that planet an independent planet? They're not protected by the Republic.
Yeah, but obviously one of the best ways in this world and in Star Wars, as shown in the whole thing of Navarro, is like one of the best ways to get someone to join into your I don't know what to call it, the Republic, the democracy, whatever you call it, is to have supported military action. Be like, if you join with us, we'll give you aid if there's a disaster, and we'll give you armies to fight people with.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the best ways to get people to join you, really. So, again, I'm not really sure of his motivation. I'm hoping they revisit him in a later series.
But how many episodes are there of The Mandalorian in this series? Have they said?
Yeah, it's 8, the same as the last one.
And this is what? We're
6.
Right, so there's only 2 episodes left.
Well, that's what I mean. I don't think he's going to come back in this series. I suspect next series he'll come back, or maybe at the end of the next episode or the finale, like almost like a post-credit scene kind of thing, we'll see someone go and pick him up, and he just isn't seen for ages. And
I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not a fan of post-credit scenes, really.
Well, not post-credit,
I find them annoying.
But do you remember the last week's episode where everything kind of finished, and then Carson Teva, he found that Imperial shuttle where Moff Gideon was on, and all the crew had been killed, and he found some Beskar armor.
Yeah, that's the bald guy, isn't it? The bald pilot.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't a post-credit scene, but it kind of felt like one, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's more what I was alluding to, like a final scene that's kind of removed from the other stuff. But, yeah, as I said, I thought the Lizzo stuff was fine. I thought the battle droid stuff was alright. I thought them chasing the battle droid through the street was pretty weak. I was just like...
Yeah, it's just a chase scene for the sake of chasing.
It's kind of boring, and also, Bo-Katan, like, didn't have his jetpack.
Mike, that's the thing. Yeah, I was going to say, we were both watching that, and you said it out loud, and I was literally thinking the same thing, is why isn't she using her jetpack to, like, catch up with him?
Yeah, he's running through crowds, just fly over.
She uses her jetpack to jump over some, like, debris.
Yeah, and then
but doesn't...
and you're like, what? Like, Din to continue running, use your jetpack to fly in front, and then
because Din's the one that catches him anyway, because he goes through the, like, market
alleyways and dives through someone's window. Although I did like it when the droid fell, and then the hologram, like, crime scene things appeared around it.
Yeah, that was cool.
I was like, I love that kind of stuff as sci-fi. Like, really minor, small-time things. Like, we don't have police tape here, we have police holograms. It was like, that was just quite a cool thing I quite liked. So I thought the battle droid thing was pretty weak, that chase scene. I also thought it didn't look very real. I found the battle droid looked a bit CG. Like, I know all the droids in Attack of the Clones are CG, but when you've got all the clones in Attack of the Clones and all the droids in Attack of the Clones fully computer generated,
I didn't have a problem with
it looks the same.
I don't think.
There was just the odd bit where it was running and it was a bit... and then I thought it was like, oh, they kill this thing, and then they're like, oh, he's got a card on him, and I'm like, when has we ever in the history of Star Wars seen a droid holding like basically a business card for like somewhere they've recently been? I was like, what? Like, when have we ever seen
Wasn't
that?
it? I thought it was like a data chip.
Well, they said it was like
it looked like a USB stick.
Yeah, it kind of did, but it was for the bar. It was for the bar that's named I've forgotten. Like
the something.
The refitter or the re-emitter or something like that.
Yeah.
But the droid bar. And I was like, that's a bit...
We've gone quite waffly on this podcast.
That's what I like to do on these ones. When I was chatting with Spider Dan and Ike, we were talking for nearly 2 hours. We were talking
about The Mandalorian?
Yeah. Well, we went off on a big tangent. You can tell Megan doesn't listen to these episodes. That's why I can say whatever I want about her in these episodes. I know she won't listen. But yeah, it's... when I spoke to Thomas Rochester... we were talking for an hour and a half. The only reason we had to cut it off is because he had another pod to do afterwards.
Wow.
But yeah, I liked the running scene was pretty weak, but I really liked the droid bar.
The droid bar was cool.
I thought it was so cool. It was like something I'd not really thought about, and it's like a really interesting concept. And I like that they're all real, like physical. There's no CGI. So when you're there, I do
like the fact that they've gone back to having actual stuff, because there was a period of time where it was all CGI, wasn't it?
Yeah,
a lot of it was CGI.
The problem is the prequels. George Lucas is a visionary, and he has, not single-handedly, but his company and what Lucasfilm have done, and ILM and all that stuff. He's been amidst people at the frontier of new technology for film. You know, for the prequels, like Jar Jar was like the first fully animated starring role of a character playing amidst non-CG characters. He was like one of the first ever ones. And say what you want about Jar Jar or anything like that, but he was one of the first. It was incredible.
Yeah.
And so that was a horrible noise.
Sorry, I'm
You're gonna plug your phone in.
Plug my phone in, otherwise it's gonna run out of battery.
Yeah, that's fine. Where's your cable-y thing?
My
I've got it here, but it's all wrapped up.
There was one down here.
There
was one down here earlier because
I've got it. I've found it.
Used it.
I
unplugged it.
I've got it. Here you go, friends. Don't worry, guys. We've got the cable. We've got the cable.
I mean, your phone's on 32% as well.
Oh, cool. But yeah, so
yeah, we're using this phone as a camera.
Yeah,
and then
Megan's phone is the camera.
I've got a sat nav in front of me as well.
Yes. So one of those fun things. But I thought the droid bar was really cool. I really enjoyed that part, and the conversation with the bartender, who's a droid, saying like, we just want to be helpful. Like, organics gave us life, and we just want to serve. And like, there was a line that was something like, what the organics ask of us is quite minor, and they were like, we can live essentially forever, whereas organics' life are really short. And I was like, that's a really nice thing, because C-3PO said things like that in the comics. Like, I'd really recommend people to either check out my episode on Star Wars Comics in Canon. I think it was episode like 2, 3, or 4, something like that. And it was about C-3PO. It's only a 20-minute long episode, one of the very early ones. And it's about the comic C-3PO, the Phantom Limb, and it shows how 3PO got his red arm. And it goes quite deep about this idea of AI consciousness, about like if droids are actually alive and what their purpose in life is. And C-3PO has like this existential moment about it all, and it's like, this is really deep for a comic that was just showing how, like, a little joke about 3PO having a red arm, how that came to be. It was quite intense. So I recommend people check that out if they haven't. Oh,
that's a big pothole.
But oh god, yeah, that was a proper. But it made me lean forward enough to plug the phone in. There you go. Huzzah. That was like synergy. But yeah, so I like that element, and the droids basically being like, we like serving humans, because it's kind of something to do, but also doing these very minor things. Like if you think about C-3PO's life, obviously everyone kind of abuses 3PO because he's annoying as hell, but like essentially him just wandering around with the rebels at a point, but then with the New Republic, and just translating for people. He does actually quite enjoy that. He doesn't want to go on adventures. He just wants to, I'm programmed for etiquette, not destruction, those sort of things. He's like, he just wants to wander around, and protocol droids a lot of the time want to just do their kind of jobs, teach younglings to speak properly and act properly, and all about the decorum and things like that. So I really, really liked that droid stuff, and I want more things about droids. I really, really enjoy it. Apparently there's like a droid series or movies that is apparently going to be made, but it's gone pretty radio silent on that since they announced it.
So much stuff.
Well, the problem is with Disney, they do this quite a lot, and DC did it as well for a while. Well, they'll announce, they'll be like, here's 50 things we're working on, and then a year will go by, and then they go, actually no, it's actually 40 things now. And then a year will go by, they go, actually, it's 25 things, but we've used elements of some of the other stuff. And you're like, why did you tell everyone there were 50 things going on? Why don't you just wait? Why don't you wait until you've actually started filming, or you've at least written the whole thing before announcing stuff? Announcing something before you've even started to write it is a stupid thing to do, But tangent aside. So, we went to the droid bar, and we forgot they spoke to the Ugnaughts as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
Which is quite fun, because one of Megan's favourite characters from season 1 of The Mandalorian is Kuiil.
Yeah.
I have spoken. Fun little Ugnaught, and obviously Mando.
It's also interesting that all the Ugnaughts speak like that.
Yeah, which is cool. Apart from Melchi from Rebels, Hondo Anaka's like little friend.
Oh yeah.
But he can't speak basic, I don't think. So certain Ugnaughts can't speak basic, but it's one of the elements I liked about Book of Boba Fett. Although there are a fair amount of elements I didn't like as much, learning about the Tusken Raiders, the Sand People, I found that to be really interesting. And it's like learning about these different... I want to learn about other cultures, not at the expense of the story. I want to go along the way you meet these people and learn it, kind of as Mandalorian did in this episode. So, very much enjoyed that. Oh, God. So there's a massive vehicle next to us going around a roundabout, which is always terrifying. So I really enjoyed that element of Mandalorian. They find out what was causing it. They go back to Christopher Lloyd's character, and, they go back to the lab. They figure it all out. Shows it's these nanobot things. And then, after all of that, they confront Christopher Lloyd. He gets confronted by Jack Black and Lizzo, the Duchess and the Lord, and they send him off to exile. And then Din and Bo-Katan get the key to the city. Grogu gets knighted. Although Grogu getting knighted is quite fan servicey, because he literally didn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean that.
Could you imagine
that
being
is
a
what
knight?
Grogu is, though, isn't it? Like, I mean, when Lizzo is like, "Oh, I want to hold the baby," and then he like does
Jumps.
a force jump across the table.
That was cute and funny, but that's also the kind of thing, like, we know with our dog, well, I know Grogu's a conscious being and not like a dog, but like a child, is like, if we say, Willow, you shouldn't do that, we don't want you jumping up at someone. If that someone then goes, come on then, Willow, come on, she'll just sprint. And Mum did it the other day when she was around, and she was like, my mum doesn't like Willow licking her face, and Willow loves licking faces and ears. So Mum was like trying to beckon Willow over. She's like, come on. So Willow ran and just jumped and just leaped from the floor, landed straight on Mum's chest and right on her face. And Mum was like, okay, that's my fault because I beckoned her. But it's that kind of thing, which like with Grogu, it's like, Din's like, yeah, he's not great with strangers. And then, come on, Grogu. It was like, yeah, that's toddlers or animals. That's very much what made me think of that. But could you imagine being a knight? I know it's kind of more like an honorary thing, but could you imagine like working really hard to become a knight for that long, and then this cute little baby thing comes along, spends a few hours, like an afternoon with them, genuinely doing nothing apart from making Lizzo win this ball game thing, but they didn't really know that he made her win the ball game thing. So it was like he was just kind of there. And like, thanks for being with us for 4 hours. We're going to knight you now. I guess it kind of, I imagine one counter to what I'm saying is maybe it's a way to be like, well, Din and Bo, you literally saved us, so thank you, here's a key to your city. Grogu, you're basically a child, so here's just a little thing to make you feel welcome, even though you didn't really do anything. I imagine it's kind of like that. Like when you have a kid, when you go to like a museum or a castle or something, and then the kid does almost nothing, but they get a little bit involved, and then they get given
it's like a
participation
trophy.
Yeah, that kind of thing. That's what it is. You participate at Plaza 15 and you become knighted.
Yeah.
And then obviously the final part of this episode is when Bo-Katan goes back with Din to where the Mandalorians are, who are like on the outskirts of the city, who are like the mercenaries, with Axe Wolves as the leader, and then the character, she's a woman, and I cannot remember what her name is, but she was in season 2 of The Mandalorian, and she was with Bo-Katan and things, and they fight. So Bo-Katan challenges Axe Wolves, and long story short, she whoops his ass.
Whoops that ass.
Which I really like, because Bo-Katan is just so badass. She's like clearly a better fighter than Din Djarin, as we've seen on multiple occasions. She's an elite fighter. She's been fighting for like almost her whole life.
Like, this is the thing she made. I mean, Mandalore was once upon a time, wasn't it? Like a warrior planet.
Yeah. It's one of they were hailed as basically the greatest warriors in the galaxy.
And then they became a pacifist community when Satine took over.
Yeah, because Mandalorians were always there was always loads of infighting, and so there'd be constant wars and destroying each other.
She's just been trained since she was a kid. Like what she made a comment about, and I don't know if it was this episode or a previous episode, where she was like, yeah, no, I know that. I trained there when I was younger. Like, I know those places well. She's literally always trained.
Yeah, and you see that her...
So it's not really surprising that she's such a badass.
Yeah, and in the Clone Wars and in Rebels as well, she is a badass in those series as well. So
and all of the Mandalorians that we see within the series, like the various series, have always been badasses.
Yeah. It's exactly, and they're warrior people, and that's the point. So I really like that element, and she beats them really easily. And then obviously the episode ends, and it's like, well, it comes to an end, and Axe Wolves is like, well, you don't have the Darksaber, so you can't really lead us. You like lost it. And then Din's like, well, technically speaking, I mean, he is correct in this, but like, he was disarmed by that cyborg kind of thing. And that cyborg thing was incredible. And when me, Andy, and Ben spoke about that episode, I think it was episode 2 or 3, it was like, that was such a cool character design and such an interesting, like, baddie. And then it was just in and gone. And we were like, I want more of that kind of thing. I want to know where that thing came from. What was it made by? Like, all these things. But obviously that disarmed and just destroyed Din immediately. And then obviously Bo-Katan went in there and went all badass and got the Darksaber back. So I do like that, but I do really want them to kind of talk and explain how Bo-Katan lost the Darksaber in the first place, like, because obviously we know
because Moff Gideon had it, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Like, people who haven't watched animated stuff don't know how she got it in the first place, but they've at least mentioned in The Mandalorian she lost it to Gideon, so I would be quite interested to see how that all happened. I assume we will, because Moff Gideon keeps getting mentioned.
Yeah.
So I feel like this series is kind of like a warm-up series. Then series 4, there's probably going to be Gideon's the big bad again. Gideon will probably be beaten in series 4, and then Thrawn will be revealed, and then series 5 will be like Thrawn is the big baddie. That's a guess. Right, that's what I think is probably going to happen. But yeah, that's us basically. I think we've gone through everything and then some in this episode. I thought it was a good episode. Didn't think it was phenomenal.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, yeah. I thought it was good.
It was good. I honestly think probably the droid bar, Bo-Katan being badass at the end, and Jack Black were my standouts. I'd loved seeing Jack Black in this so much.
I just thought it was a solidly good episode. I just enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I am just thoroughly enjoying the series of The Mandalorian. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, that very loud noise was Megan being in third gear, trying to drive like she was in fifth gear.
Yeah,
for
boys.
Americans,
Yeah, boys.
For Americans who don't know how to drive stick, learn you some. So, yeah. Yeah.
Be less likely to have your car stolen.
That is true. One of the best ways in America to prevent car theft is having a manual car. But yes, is there anything else that you wanted to mention about Mandalorian, Star Wars, or anything like that?
I do not think so. No.
I think that you probably checked out about 20 minutes ago. But
I feel like I haven't really spoken that much for the past bit. It's just been you talking.
Well,
which is fine.
Usually when we do afterthoughts, you do actually talk quite a lot. Because you know, especially when I show you films you don't like.
The thing is that I'm concentrating at the moment.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is because you are literally
and also
driving.
Because I was talking, I nearly missed the exit that we were supposed to go on, and that would have added an extra half an hour to our journey.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how angry I'd
She would have. Well, we would have both been. Well, I wouldn't have been mad. I'd have been like, "Oh, that's a shame." Megan would be.
I'd be fuming.
Yeah, but obviously, so Megan's been driving. So there have been times where you may have seen me looking around if you're watching the video version, where Megan's changing lane or there's lots of cars all around, and so I'm half waffling because I don't want Megan to feel like she has to answer all these questions when she's doing, obviously, myself a favour, but all you lovely listeners a favour by being involved.
Yeah.
So,
appreciate it.
there you go. So I think next week I'm going to be talking to Tony, and I'm going to see if I can get anyone else on as well. And then the finale of Mandalorian is Megan's birthday. So it's the episode comes out the night before her birthday, but I think I'm passing the baton, I think, to Chris and Dave to talk about the finale and things like that, but I'll probably record a little.
I feel bad.
But you never asked me to. I said
I feel bad, but at the same time, like, if I knew that it was going to be like max an hour, like absolutely maximum an hour, I'd be like, okay.
But
But I know for a fact that it's not going to be an hour.
Especially not the final episode. The final episode of Andor took us about 2 hours and 5 minutes, I think.
Yeah, and it's on my, the episode comes out on the 19th, and my birthday's the 20th of April.
Yeah. So wish everyone a happy birthday. Wish Megan a happy birthday, everyone, when it comes out. But also, to be fair to you, not only have you been involved in this one, but also you are literally spending the next 4 days at Star Wars Celebration with me.
Half of my Easter holidays.
Which Friday to Sunday, they're 9-hour days, plus queuing, plus getting there.
Plus commuting, because our accommodation's like a 45-minute journey away.
And then the Monday is like an 7-hour day, I think. So it's like, if we're there from start to finish every day, that's like 35-ish hours of just Star Wars alone. And obviously watched Mandalorian last night and things, so...
And there's been a ton of other stuff, like there was the Bad Batch as well.
Yeah.
That came out at the same time.
Exactly.
That lasted for years.
It did go on for a very long time. I thoroughly enjoyed Bad Batch, so it was banging, but it did go on for a long time. But yeah, so... That's just a general idea of what's going on in the future, friends, over the next 2 weeks as we hit the finale. But I'll try and record at least something small for the Mando finale. I assume there's going to be some sort of big thing like there was in Season 2 of Mandalorian, and I'm sure I'll have stuff to say about it. So I'll do that. But yeah, nothing else you want to add about Star Wars or anything like that. But obviously tune in... when's this coming out? Either tonight or tomorrow. So tune in on the feed of Comics in Motion for the Star Wars Celebration coverage, or on my YouTube channel, but I don't know if I'll put video to the YouTube channel because we'll be recording in our hotel room, but maybe we will. I don't know. We'll see. But
it's also... It's like an Airbnb. You keep saying a hotel room. It's an apartment that we're staying in.
Yeah, so it'll be nice, I suppose. I haven't seen it, so just put my faith in Megan. But... Yeah, we'll be doing Star Wars Celebration coverage over the next few days, so you'll hear more from myself and Megan if you want to keep up to date with that. Follow me on social media at Genuine Chit-Chat on Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook. You can follow Megan on Instagram at GritsGetsFit.
I don't really post that much at the moment, but I have posted twice in the past few days, so...
Were they both about Willow?
They are both about the dog.
if you want to see more photos of Willow, follow Megan on Instagram. If you want to see a few photos of Willow and then stuff that I'm up to, including snippets of genuine chit-chat and episodes of Star Wars Comics in Canon, where I do photos of a lot of the comics I tackle. The most recent episode was Visions #1, which was from the dual episode of Visions, the very cool sort of black and white one. There's a prequel comic to that I tackled that was good fun, and I released that on April Fool's Day, so it's not technically canon. Good fun there. And if you want to hear more of the kind of slightly more attentive than this time, because obviously Megan was driving.
Yeah, sorry.
Don't apologise for it. But if you want to hear more from like me and Megan's opinions and stuff, the best way to do it and the best way to support the show is go to patreon.com/genuinechitchat. Over there, I release book reviews of Star Wars Legends books that I've done. Me and Megan do afterthoughts on loads of different things, lots of films. We've been watching quite a few sort of bigger films recently. Like, we watched The Goonies recently, American Psycho, both the Blade Runner movies, Drive.
Blade Runner.
Oh, we watched the SpongeBob musical recently. We last night recorded a review on that as well. And we've got other stuff planned going forward. So we record our thoughts on live shows, TV series we watch, movies we see, loads of different things. There's at least one episode of those every single week. Some episodes are as short as 7 minutes, some of them are as long as 40 minutes. Usually the 40-minute ones.
Afterthoughts for 40 minutes.
The Spider-Man one was half hour, but normally when we talk about after we've been on holiday, like when we spoke about Malta, that was like 40 minutes long. So
anyway, this is rambling.
It is rambling. It's me promoting myself. But yes, friends, and obviously support all the amazing creators on Comics in Motion if you're listening to the audio-only version of this, and don't forget you can watch all the video versions of these Mandalorian discussion shows at youtube.com/genuinechitchat. Everything's in playlists there. You can listen to all my Star Wars conversations there. You can listen to all my Star Wars Comics in Canon episodes. Remember, you never have to have read a single Star Wars comic in your entire life, or any comic for that matter, to enjoy the show Star Wars Comics in Canon. I specifically go through the plot details so that you don't have to, and along the way give you bonus information on trivia, like species and characters and things that reoccur that you may recognise but can't remember why. And both Dave and Tony have separately said they call it story time with Mike, because it's basically just half an hour to an hour of me going through a story of things and trying to make it interesting along the way. So if you listen to this and you haven't tuned into Comics in Canon, please go do that. All playlists are on YouTube, or you can just type it into any podcast app. All up to date on Comics in Motion, and I've got my own feed going on as well, but that's only about to episode 70 at the moment. So yes, friends, thank you so much for tuning in, either on the feed of Comics in Motion or on Genuine Chit-Chat's YouTube channel. Really appreciate it. Please share with your friends, tell everyone you've ever met about it, scream it from the rooftops and things, get the links to the show tattooed on your arms, and send it in shirt to people, all these crazy things. Do it all. And if you can, share on social media, tell your friends all about it, and if you're willing, review on iTunes and Apple Podcasts and Good Pods, and maybe consider supporting the show at patreon.com/genuinechitchat. But friends, thank you so much for listening as always, and we'll let Megan say adieu in the way she always does on Afterthoughts, so you get a little taste. We'll see you later, friends.
Bye.
That wasn't as exciting as it normally is.
Bye.
She's normally a bit more tuneful with it.
Bye.
There we go. That's what we want. Thank you, friends. We'll speak to you very soon.
Bye.